The space station floated silently above the green and blue swirl of the planet below. Its massive structure glimmered under the light of a nearby star, a lattice of metal and glass that reflected both human ingenuity and alien technology borrowed and adapted over years. Most of the inhabitants were humans, but a small contingent of alien diplomats and engineers lived here as well. For most people, life on the station was routine: maintenance, monitoring, communication, and the occasional emergency drill. Yet for Kai, a young engineer with sharp eyes and a restless mind, every day brought the promise of discovery. Kai had grown up on smaller stations and cargo ships, moving from planet to planet, learning the tricks of machines, electronics, and engineering hacks the hard way. He liked working alone, listening to the hum of power conduits and the gentle vibration of engines. Today, he had been called to inspect the communications hub. The system was old in some places, patched in others, and entirely too complex for anyone to fully understand. Yet Kai saw beauty in the chaos. He ran his fingers along the conduits, checking connections, humming to himself as the machines responded to his careful touch. It was during this inspection that he first saw her, Princess Selara. She was not what he had expected. Stories said she was regal, distant, and cold, an alien diplomat who rarely interacted with humans. Yet here she was, walking along the observation deck with a quiet grace, scanning the displays and speaking softly to her aides. She was taller than he imagined, with an elegance that seemed to belong to another world, yet something about her made her presence feel warm rather than intimidating. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, moved over the data streams with curiosity and attention, the kind that could see through pretense and dishonesty. Kai froze for a moment, feeling his heart race. This was not just admiration, it was awe. He had always respected brilliance, whether human or alien, but Selara carried it in every gesture. Without thinking, he whispered under his breath, almost as if to reassure himself, "She is the most splendid princess." Something told him this moment, small as it was, mattered. The calm of the observation deck shattered seconds later. Alarms blared across the station, red lights flashing along the walls. The sensors picked up an incoming fleet. It was not a normal patrol or routine visit. It was mercenaries, armed with advanced weapons and unannounced, heading straight for the station. The human engineers exchanged panicked glances. Many of the aliens froze, unused to dealing with sudden threats. Kai's mind raced. He could see the numbers on the monitors, calculate the trajectory, and notice the inconsistencies. Something was off. "They're using technology we've seen before," he murmured to no one in particular, "but it's modified, maybe human-designed. If we act fast, we can turn it against them. Prepare the defenses according to his instructions." Humans and aliens alike scrambled to follow him. Minutes passed like hours. The fleet approached, ships glinting with hostile intent. The first wave of attackers struck with precision, firing energy pulses that could have torn through the station's defenses. Yet Kai had anticipated many of their maneuvers. The drones intercepted missiles, shields absorbed blasts, and improvised energy pulses disrupted the enemy's targeting systems. Selara moved through the control room like a calm storm, coordinating alien units and relaying orders to her fleet. She glanced at Kai more than once, and each time he felt a strange combination of fear and pride. He had never worked alongside a royal before, much less one who valued human insight. Yet here they were, an unlikely team standing against overwhelming odds. Despite their efforts, the station shuddered under enemy fire. Sparks rained from the ceilings, and the hum of power conduits rose and fell as systems overloaded and recovered. One of the outer hull sections suffered a breach. Alarms screamed, lights flickered, and panic began to ripple among the crew. Kai's hands moved almost instinctively, rerouting power, sealing compartments, and recalibrating shields to protect vulnerable areas. "Keep going," Selara shouted over the comms, her voice firm but not harsh. "Humans, aliens, together, we can hold them." Humans had always been underestimated by more advanced species, judged for their small numbers and limited technology. But their adaptability, creativity, and relentless courage were strengths no machine could measure. He looked at Selara once more, and for a moment the chaos around them disappeared. The most splendid princess had seen him, trusted him, and together they were holding the line. The first wave was eventually repelled, but not without cost. Parts of the station were damaged, drones destroyed, and several crew members injured. Yet the fleet did not retreat. Instead, it paused, likely assessing why a station of this size was still operational after their initial strike. Kai realized that this pause was an opportunity. He pointed to a cluster of sensors and energy nodes, explaining to Selara how they could manipulate the fleet's movement. Using human ingenuity, they could create traps the aliens would never expect. Selara listened carefully. "Your ideas are unconventional," she said, her voice calm yet edged with admiration, "but I trust them. Humans see possibilities others overlook." The crew adapted to Kai's instructions, and the alien fleet began to retreat, unable to predict the unexpected maneuvers of the human-designed defenses. There was no celebration yet, too much remained uncertain, but a sense of cautious hope spread through the command center. Selara approached Kai as the alarms quieted. She smiled, not in a way meant to charm or flatter, but with genuine recognition. "You handled yourself well," she said. "Most humans would have panicked. You saw what others could not. You reminded everyone here that courage and cleverness matter as much as technology." As the station began repairs and the crew settled into post-battle routines, Kai found himself alone on the observation deck again. He looked out at the stars and the distant planet below, thinking about the fleet, the battle, and the princess who had turned to him. His whisper returned, soft but filled with hope. "She is the most splendid princess." He felt seen, capable, and part of something far greater than himself. Humanity had been underestimated, yes, but in moments like this, under pressure, humans could shine brighter than anyone imagined. And somehow, Kai knew this was only the beginning. The fleet might have retreated, but threats were always coming. The alliances between humans and aliens were fragile, and the universe was vast, full of challenges waiting for someone clever and daring enough to face them. He looked back at the command center where Selara was coordinating repairs and strategies. A strange, quiet determination settled in him. Humans had something unique, something no alien, however advanced, could predict. Kai smiled to himself, feeling the hum of the station beneath his feet, the flicker of lights and the soft pulse of energy through the conduits. Humanity was here. Human ingenuity was alive, and he, small, curious, bold, was part of it. And somewhere in the mix of stars and metal and courage, Princess Selara had noticed him. That perhaps was the most extraordinary thing of all. The station would live. Humanity would continue to surprise, and Kai knew that whatever came next, he would be ready. The space station hummed quietly as repairs went on. The damage from the mercenary fleet was severe but not catastrophic. Humans and aliens worked side by side, each group contributing their strengths. While others focused on fixing structural damage or recalibrating weapons, Kai found himself called to the royal observation deck once again. Princess Selara was already there, reviewing data streams from the previous battle, her posture calm yet commanding. Kai approached carefully. Despite the chaos of the last hours, she had noticed him, trusted him, and now he felt a strange responsibility. This was no longer a simple engineering task. Decisions here could affect the lives of thousands. Selara looked up as he entered. "You have a moment, Kai?" she asked. Her voice was steady, without the usual trace of royal distance he had expected. "Yes, princess," he replied, though the title felt awkward. He had spoken to royalty before, in training exercises or diplomatic protocols, but never like this, personal, urgent, and without barriers. "We need to prepare for the next wave," Selara said. "They are not going to give up so easily. We held the station, but they will regroup. We must anticipate their moves." Their ships are fast, but their coordination is limited. They rely on brute force and repetition, assuming their advanced tech guarantees victory. That's a weakness we can exploit. He outlined a strategy using adaptive human-designed drones that could mimic enemy signals and mislead their targeting systems. He explained how the station's energy shields could be redirected in short bursts, confusing enemy sensors. He suggested using small, nimble human-engineered pods to hit weak points in the fleet's formation. Each idea relied on creativity, speed, and the human ability to improvise, things alien forces rarely expected. Selara listened carefully, asking questions and offering suggestions. At first, it was purely tactical, but gradually, the discussion shifted. She wanted to understand not just the methods, but the thought process behind them. "You think like a human," she said, almost as an observation, seeing possibilities that machines and algorithms overlook. Here, on this observation deck with Selara watching, he realized that human creativity was more powerful than anyone had assumed. The alarm sounded again, not with panic but with warning. A scouting group from the mercenary fleet had been detected, approaching the outer perimeter. It was smaller than the previous attack, but fast and dangerous. The station's crew moved quickly, following Kai's instructions to deploy adaptive drones in deceptive patterns. Energy shields flickered as power was rerouted, and the human-engineered pods prepared for launch. Selara coordinated alien units from her position. She spoke to them in her own language, her words sharp but calm, and they responded with precision. Kai noticed how her presence inspired both humans and aliens alike. She had authority, yes, but also respect. Her acknowledgement of human ideas gave the crew confidence they might have lacked otherwise. The first encounter was tense. Enemy ships darted around, firing with deadly accuracy, yet the drones anticipated their moves. Several ships collided with one another as the human-engineered deception worked perfectly. Energy pulses misdirected enemy weapons, and the pods attacked weak points, forcing a retreat. The station's crew cheered quietly, careful not to break the intense focus required. Selara turned to Kai once more, a small smile playing at her lips. "Impressive," she said. "You planned this so quickly, yet it worked better than I imagined. They think advanced technology ensures victory, but you've reminded me that strategy and creativity are equally important." The alien mercenaries had regrouped, learned from their mistakes, and now came with greater numbers and firepower. Kai felt a pulse of tension but refused to let fear control him. He began calculating trajectories, energy distribution, and potential weak points. Selara moved beside him, her presence calm and reassuring. Together, they worked through the possibilities, combining human ingenuity with alien strategic knowledge. Hours passed as the station prepared. Humans repaired drones and weapons while adapting them to new scenarios. Alien engineers reinforced shields and recalibrated sensors. Kai's mind raced with contingencies, improvisations, and calculations. Each adjustment improved their chances, but he knew the real test was coming. When the enemy fleet arrived, the station was ready. This time, the attack was brutal. Energy beams tore across space, drones intercepted missiles, and shields flared under pressure. Kai's adaptive strategies forced enemy ships into confusion. The larger ships could not adjust quickly, while smaller ones were trapped in patterns of human-engineered interference. Selara's voice rose above the comms. "Maintain formation. Focus on coordination. Human units lead with ingenuity, not force." The alien strike force expected chaos, but what they faced instead was calculated resistance. Human intuition and adaptability, combined with Selara's leadership, created a defense no enemy had anticipated. Despite the success, the battle was not without cost. Portions of the station were damaged, and several crew members were injured. Still, the human engineers' quick thinking and problem-solving saved countless lives. Kai noticed how the aliens were beginning to respect the humans' abilities, a shift in attitude that surprised even him. After the battle, Selara approached him once more. Her expression was thoughtful, almost contemplative. "Kai," she said, "humans are remarkable. You have shown that courage, adaptability, and ingenuity can match, and even surpass, technology in certain situations. You proved that humans are not to be underestimated. You reminded everyone here that courage and cleverness matter as much as technology." As the crew worked through the aftermath of the battle, Kai and Selara walked through the observation deck. The station's lights reflected off the distant stars, and the planet below glowed softly. For a moment the chaos faded, leaving only the quiet hum of machinery and the soft glow of distant stars. "You know," Selara said quietly, almost to herself, "humans have something unique. You adapt. You improvise, you take risks, and sometimes you surprise everyone, including me. Not because of rank or duty, but because you represent something I've seen rarely, a mind unafraid to face challenges with creativity and courage." And now, with Selara acknowledging their value, the possibilities seemed endless. The peace was temporary. Reports came in of scattered enemy scouts lingering near the outer perimeter. The larger fleet might have retreated, but they were far from defeated. Selara and Kai reviewed the data together, planning the next steps. They would need to strengthen alliances, anticipate attacks, and continue combining human ingenuity with alien strategy. Kai realized that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of challenges and dangers, but also opportunities for humans to prove themselves. He felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humans were underestimated, yes, but that was their advantage. Their creativity, resilience, and courage could change the outcome of battles and shape alliances in ways no other species could. Selara turned to him one last time before leaving the observation deck. "Stay close, Kai. I will need your mind and your ideas. The next challenge is coming, and I trust you to be ready." He whispered softly to himself once again, though this time with certainty. "We are ready. Humans are ready." Kai walked among the crew, quietly observing, guiding, and encouraging. Every small adjustment mattered. Every calculated risk could save lives. As the stars outside twinkled like distant promises, Kai felt the weight of responsibility but also the thrill of possibility. Humanity had survived its first major test in this part of the galaxy, not through sheer firepower but through cleverness, adaptability, and courage. And with allies like Princess Selara, the future seemed brighter than ever. Kai knew that more battles would come. The mercenary fleet would return, more advanced forces would challenge the station, and political tensions would rise. But for now, humans had proven themselves. They had shown that even when underestimated, their ingenuity, bravery, and resilience could turn the tide. He returned to the observation deck one last time that day, gazing at the planet below and the distant stars beyond. The universe was wide and unpredictable, but humans were ready. And beside him, even in the quiet moments, he felt the presence of Princess Selara watching, learning, and trusting. For Kai, and for humanity, this was just the beginning. The days after the initial battle were tense. The space station, though repaired and reinforced, still bore the scars of the mercenary fleet's assault. Humans and aliens worked tirelessly side by side, recalibrating shields, repairing drones, and strengthening communications. Kai moved among the teams, directing repairs, offering advice, and observing weaknesses. Even with all the activity, he felt the weight of anticipation pressing down on him. The larger fleet had not vanished. They had only retreated to regroup, and Kai knew they would return stronger. Princess Selara moved through the station with her usual calm authority, coordinating alien defense forces and monitoring strategic data. Despite the chaos and the exhaustion of the crew, she never seemed hurried or frazzled. Her presence alone inspired confidence. Every time Kai saw her directing units, issuing precise orders, or evaluating human strategies with interest, he felt a renewed determination. Humanity had proven themselves once, but they needed to maintain that edge. Kai had been analyzing enemy patterns for hours. The mercenaries were aggressive, relying on overwhelming force, but they were predictable in some ways. Their ships moved in formations that had weaknesses Kai had identified. Using this knowledge, he began devising a plan that would not just defend the station but force the enemy into traps. He sketched designs, recalibrated drones, and reprogrammed automated defense systems. The station's human engineers worked alongside him, their morale boosted by the recognition of their abilities. Solara approached him as he adjusted a series of drones in the engineering bay. "What do you see?" she asked, her voice calm but with an edge of curiosity. Kai explained his plan. "They expect us to react predictably, to defend in straight lines and predictable patterns. We can use that. I want to set up ambush zones, spaces where their ships are forced into traps by our drones and energy shields. The smaller human pods can hit weak points while the enemy is distracted. Humans are underestimated because they aren't predictable. That's our advantage." The alien mercenaries had learned from the first encounter, and this time they were likely to strike with greater precision and power. Hours later, the first signs of the fleet appeared. Sensors detected dozens of ships approaching in tight formations, moving fast and firing intermittent energy pulses as a warning. The mercenaries were confident, their arrogance palpable even through the communication networks. They believed their superior numbers and technology would overwhelm the station. Kai moved to the control room, where Solara had already positioned herself among alien officers. "Remember," she said to everyone, "follow Kai's strategy. Trust human creativity. We have to be unpredictable." Kai directed every move with calm urgency. Left flank, redirect power to the outer shields. Drones form decoy patterns to lure them into the trap. Pods strike the rear engines. Their targeting systems misread the drones' movements, and several ships crashed into one another or were forced into energy fields that disrupted their engines. The smaller human pods darted in and out, hitting weak points with deadly efficiency. Solara watched from the command center, coordinating alien units and adjusting defenses as needed. "Excellent," she said quietly to herself. "Human ingenuity at work." "Redirect auxiliary power to the upper shields. Launch countermeasures," he shouted. The crew followed his orders with precision. Even when systems failed or drones were destroyed, they adapted quickly, repairing and redeploying in real time. The human's ability to think and act unpredictably threw the enemy into confusion. Hours of intense combat passed. The station shuddered under the weight of continuous assault, yet the humans and their alien allies held. Kai noticed the enemy fleet starting to lose coordination. Their ships collided, their formations broke, and several commanders were unable to regain control. Every tactical decision Kai made, every human improvisation, forced the mercenaries into chaos. Solara approached him during a brief lull. "You've turned the tide," she said. "The enemy is no longer in control. They cannot predict us, and that frustrates them more than anything else. But for now, humans are showing what we can do." Solara turned to Kai once more, her expression thoughtful. "Humans are underestimated because they are unpredictable," she said. "You and your people have shown that intelligence, adaptability, and courage matter as much as raw power. Today, humanity earned respect. Not just for himself, but for every human engineer, technician, and crew member who had worked tirelessly. They had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, cleverness and bravery could turn the tide. The aftermath required careful attention. Repairs were ongoing, drones needed replacement, and communication networks had to be reinforced. Kai coordinated human teams, while Solara ensured alien units supported every effort. The collaboration strengthened bonds, and the station's atmosphere shifted from tension to cautious optimism. As the night cycle began, Kai found himself once again on the observation deck. The planet below glowed softly, the clouds reflecting light from distant stars. He gazed out at the vast expanse, thinking about the battles, the enemy fleet, and the princess who had trusted him. His mind wandered to the possibilities ahead, more battles, more challenges, and the chance to prove humanity's worth on a scale no one had expected. Selara joined him quietly. "You did well today," she said, her voice low and steady. "Humans are capable of far more than we are often given credit for. You have reminded me of that. You have a mind that sees possibilities others overlook and courage to act on them. That is rare." He realized then that humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, problem solvers, and allies who could change outcomes against seemingly insurmountable odds. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars and the quiet planet below. For a moment, the battles faded from memory, leaving only a sense of purpose and possibility. Kai understood that this was just the beginning. Humanity had proven itself once, but the universe was wide and full of challenges, each requiring courage, intellect, and creativity. As the station settled into a quieter rhythm, Kai returned to his engineering work. Even as he repaired systems and prepared defenses for potential future attacks, he felt a renewed sense of determination. Humans had shown that they could face overwhelming threats and emerge victorious, not through raw power alone, but through ingenuity, adaptability, and unity. Selara watched him from afar, a thoughtful expression on her face. She had seen many civilizations, many leaders, but humans were different. Unpredictable, creative, brave. They adapted to challenges in ways no alien technology or strategy could anticipate. And she knew that with humans like Kai at the forefront, the future held possibilities she had never imagined. Kai's mind returned briefly to the whisper he had spoken earlier, the one that Selara had heard. "She is the most splendid princess," he murmured quietly. Now, after the battles, after the cooperation and trust, the words felt even more true. She was remarkable not just as a leader, but as someone who recognized potential, encouraged innovation, and inspired courage. As the station hummed with activity, Kai prepared for the next phase. The enemy fleet would return, stronger and more prepared. But humanity had learned, adapted, and proven itself. They were unpredictable, clever, and resilient. And with allies like Selara, they were ready to face anything the galaxy could throw at them. The stars stretched infinitely beyond the station's hull. Kai knew that this vast, unpredictable universe would challenge them again and again. But he also knew that humanity's strength lay not in sheer numbers or technology alone, but in the courage, creativity, and determination of minds willing to act when others hesitated. He felt ready. Humans were ready. And the universe, wide and mysterious, would soon discover just how extraordinary they could be. The planet below the space station was a lush world of green forests, rolling hills, and deep, sparkling rivers. From orbit it looked peaceful, almost untouched. But Kai knew better. The mercenary fleet had retreated temporarily, but their intentions were clear. They wanted the planet's natural energy resources, and they would stop at nothing to take control. Kai and Princess Selara were preparing for the next phase. This time, the battle would not just be in space. They would have to defend the planet itself. The space station could hold out, but if the enemy reached the surface, the consequences could be devastating. Humans and alien allies were divided into teams, each responsible for securing critical locations, setting traps, and coordinating with drones and pods from above. The landing was tense. Kai and Selara led a small strike team to a strategic energy facility in the forest. The facility was crucial. It controlled the flow of energy from natural reservoirs, and losing it would give the mercenaries a significant advantage. Humans had built improvised defenses using local resources, and alien engineers had reinforced these with advanced technology. As they approached, Kai studied the terrain carefully. The forest offered cover, but also limited visibility. Enemy scouts could be hiding among the trees, waiting to ambush them. "We need to use the environment," he said to the team. "Set traps along the likely paths. Use the trees, the rivers, the terrain itself. We may be outnumbered, but the planet gives us an advantage if we understand it. Adaptation, improvisation, creativity, these are your strengths. Let's put them to use. Kai coordinated with the space station, ensuring reinforcements could arrive if needed. Hours passed in tense preparation. Every sound in the forest made the team alert. Shadows shifted, and distant movements caught their eyes. Then, in the late afternoon, the first wave of mercenary scouts appeared. Small, fast ships skimmed above the treetops, sending ground units down to probe their defenses. Kai took a deep breath and activated the first trap. A hidden energy pulse surged through the trees, disabling several enemy drones. The ground units were caught in improvised pits and snare devices, designed by human ingenuity to use the terrain against them. Selara coordinated the alien defenders, directing them to exploit weaknesses in the enemy formation. The initial success gave the team confidence, but the enemy quickly adapted. Larger forces followed, dropping troops equipped with advanced weapons and armored vehicles. The forest became a battlefield, a chaotic mix of human and alien strategies, mercenary technology, and natural obstacles. Kai moved swiftly, issuing orders and adjusting traps in real time. Redirect the river flow to create barriers. Use the terrain to split their units. Drones, move to the ridge for a better angle. The human pods darted between trees, hitting weak points in the enemy formation while avoiding direct confrontation with the heavier units. Selara observed, impressed by the coordination. "Humans think differently," she said quietly. "You see possibilities where aliens see obstacles. You improvise, you adapt, and in doing so you make the impossible possible." Humans and aliens work together seamlessly, each group covering the other's weaknesses. Kai spotted a large enemy unit attempting to flank the facility. Thinking quickly, he instructed a small team of human engineers to rig a series of controlled detonations using natural materials and improvised devices. The resulting explosion created a barrier, stopping the enemy advance and forcing them into a narrow valley where the remaining forces could target them effectively. Selara smiled, a mixture of pride and admiration. "You have turned the terrain itself into a weapon," she said. "Humans have a way of using the world around them that others cannot predict. If we can create a chain reaction, we could disable most of their forces at once." They set up the devices, connected them carefully, and then retreated to a safe distance. The chain reaction was triggered. A surge of energy rippled through the enemy formation, disabling vehicles, grounding drones, and sending troops scrambling in confusion. The mercenaries had not anticipated such a coordinated use of technology and terrain. The human-led strategy had turned the tide of the battle once again. As the dust settled, Kai and Selara walked through the clearing, observing the aftermath. The enemy was retreating, disorganized and demoralized. Human ingenuity and adaptability had once again proven decisive. The forest, the rivers, the terrain itself, all had been used to their advantage. Selara turned to Kai, her expression thoughtful. "Humans are remarkable," she said. "You take what others see as obstacles and turn them into strengths. You adapt, improvise, and overcome. That is why I have placed my trust in you." They had proven that ingenuity, courage, and adaptability could overcome superior technology and numbers. The victory, however, was not without consequences. Parts of the facility were damaged, and resources were depleted. The team began immediate repairs, ensuring the energy systems were stable and operational. Humans and aliens collaborated seamlessly, each learning from the other's methods. As night fell, the team gathered around a small camp near the facility. Fires burned, providing warmth and light. Kai sat quietly, reflecting on the day's events. Humans had shown their value not through brute force alone, but through creativity, adaptability, and courage. They had taken the natural world and turned it into an ally, something the mercenaries could not predict. Selara joined him, sitting nearby. "You have done more than defend this planet," she said softly. "You have shown that humanity can turn challenges into opportunities. That is a rare gift. And it is a strength that will shape the future. I have seen many civilizations, but humans, you are different. Clever, brave, and adaptable. I trust you to lead, to inspire, and to create opportunities where others see none." They were not just survivors. They were innovators, problem solvers, and allies who could change the course of battles. And with Selara recognizing their potential, the possibilities seemed endless. The stars above glimmered through the canopy, a reminder of the vast universe waiting beyond the planet. Kai knew that this was only one battle, one victory in a long chain of challenges. The mercenary fleet would regroup, more dangerous than before. But humanity had shown its strength, and that strength lay not in numbers or raw power alone, but in ingenuity, courage, and determination. As the night deepened, Kai and Selara stood together, looking at the forest and the distant mountains. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Yet they had learned something important. Humans were not to be underestimated. Their creativity, adaptability, and courage could turn even the most hopeless situations into victories. Kai whispered quietly to himself, a mix of pride and anticipation in his voice. "Humans are ready. We can face anything. And together we will," she said. "Humans and allies working as one. That is how we will protect this planet, this station, and whatever lies beyond." But for the first time, he felt that humanity was not only capable of surviving, they were capable of triumphing. As dawn approached, the forest bathed in soft light. Kai and Selara prepared their teams for the next steps. Repairs were underway, defenses strengthened, and the human-alien collaboration had reached new heights. Humanity had earned respect, and their ingenuity had become a force the mercenaries could not ignore. Kai looked at Selara and she met his gaze, her expression calm yet filled with trust. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied, "but it is a beginning that will shape the future." But the universe stretched endlessly beyond, filled with unknown dangers and opportunities. And Kai knew, with certainty, that humans were ready for whatever came next. The battle over the planet and the space station had ended, but the echoes of conflict lingered. Smoke drifted over the forest where the last skirmishes had taken place, and distant fires glimmered along the rivers. The mercenary fleet had been defeated, scattered, and forced to retreat. Humanity and their alien allies had triumphed, not through sheer numbers or firepower alone, but through ingenuity, courage, and the ability to adapt. Kai moved through the station, overseeing repairs and coordinating with both human and alien engineers. Every system, from drones to energy shields, required careful attention. The victory had come at a cost. Machinery was damaged, resources depleted, and some units were lost. Yet despite the challenges, the crew worked tirelessly. Morale was high, for they had proven that humans could not be underestimated. Princess Selara walked beside him, her eyes scanning the monitors and assessment reports. She had been at the forefront of strategy and coordination, inspiring both humans and aliens with her calm authority. Yet, there was something different in her demeanor today. Pride, yes, but also admiration for the human ingenuity that had made victory possible. "You handled yourself well, Kai," she said, her voice low but sincere. "Humanity has shown what it is capable of, and your leadership has been key. You have turned potential into reality. You acted where others hesitated. That is why the battle was won." And Selara had seen it, not as a distant observer, but as an ally, someone who trusted and respected humans for what they truly were. The post-battle assessment continued. Reports arrived from the forest, the rivers, and the repaired energy facility. Every detail confirmed that the human-led strategies had been decisive. Drones had outmaneuvered enemy vehicles, traps had disrupted formations, and improvised tactics had forced the mercenaries into chaos. Kai reviewed the data, noting every success and planning improvements for the future. "Look here," he said, pointing at a monitor showing enemy movements during the battle. These units were forced into narrow valleys because of our traps. That gave our pods the opportunity to hit the engines. The chain reaction in the forest disabled over 60% of their assault vehicles. Without this coordination, we could have lost the facility. You combine instinct, intellect, and adaptability in ways no algorithm or strategy can predict. That is why I placed my trust in you. The mercenaries had underestimated them, as had other civilizations, and humanity had triumphed in a way that no one could ignore. As the repairs neared completion, a ceremony was organized on the observation deck. The space station, now gleaming and fortified, was alive with the crew and representatives from allied alien civilizations. They gathered to recognize the contributions of humans, to acknowledge the bravery and intelligence that had saved the station and the planet below. Kai was called forward. He felt a mix of nervousness and pride as the crowd of humans and aliens turned their attention to him. Selara stood beside him, her presence calm and supportive. She raised her voice so everyone could hear. "Today," she said, "humans have proven themselves extraordinary. Through ingenuity, courage, and adaptability, they have defended this station and the planet below against forces far stronger than themselves. Kai has led with insight and bravery, but this victory belongs to all who stood together." Kai felt a rush of emotion, realizing that this acknowledgement was not just for him, but for all of humanity. The people who had been underestimated across galaxies were now celebrated as innovators, problem solvers, and fearless defenders. Selara placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "You have done more than win a battle, Kai. You have reminded all of us that humanity's strength lies not just in numbers or technology, but in courage, creativity, and determination. That is a force no one can ignore. You have earned your place among the stars." New challenges would arise, new threats would emerge, and humanity would need to continue proving itself. Kai looked at Selara, feeling a sense of connection deeper than simple respect. They had shared danger, worked together to protect countless lives, and witnessed human ingenuity at its peak. "We did it," he said quietly. "Yes," Selara replied, her gaze steady and thoughtful. "But this is only the beginning. There will be more battles, more tests of strategy and courage. And humanity, you will be ready." He whispered to himself a quiet affirmation. "We are ready. Humans are ready." Repairs were finished, energy systems restored, and drones patrolled both the station and the skies above the planet. Humans and aliens had forged stronger bonds, learning from one another's strategies and methods. The victories on the planet and in space had created a sense of unity, trust, and mutual respect. Kai returned to his engineering work, quietly checking systems and ensuring every detail was perfect. He moved through the station with a calm focus, but inside he felt a growing excitement. Humanity had proven itself capable of triumph against overwhelming odds. They had faced a threat no one expected them to overcome, and had succeeded. As he worked, he thought of the future. The mercenary fleet would regroup eventually, other enemies would test their defenses, and new challenges would appear. But he felt confident. Humans were adaptable, clever, and resilient. They could learn, improvise, and overcome. And with allies like Selara, their potential was limitless. When his tasks were finished, Kai stepped onto the observation deck once more. The stars stretched endlessly beyond, and the planet below glimmered softly. He felt a quiet pride and a sense of anticipation. Humanity had triumphed, but this victory was a stepping stone to greater challenges. Selara joined him, standing silently as they both gazed at the stars. "You have done well, Kai," she said softly. "Humans have shown what they are capable of. And you have shown what one human can achieve when courage and intelligence guide action. You see possibilities, act with courage, and adapt in ways others cannot. That is why I trust you, Kai. That is why I believe humanity has a place among the stars." They had faced overwhelming threats and emerged victorious, proving that ingenuity, courage, and adaptability were as powerful as any weapon. He looked at Solara one last time, and she met his gaze, her expression calm yet filled with understanding. For a moment, words were unnecessary. They had shared battles, strategies, and victories. They had proven that trust and collaboration could turn the tide of war. Kai whispered softly, as if to himself, "We did it. Humanity is ready." The battles had been won, but the journey was far from over. Humanity had proven itself, clever, brave, adaptable, and the stars themselves seemed to acknowledge their arrival. Kai turned once more to the view of the planet below, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. The victory was not just for humans, but for everyone who had fought, innovated, and adapted. And somewhere in the vastness of the universe, the potential for greater challenges and adventures awaited. But for now, humanity had triumphed. And Kai, alongside Princess Solara, felt the quiet certainty that the best was yet to come.